Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. And if you're one of my regular viewers, you're wondering how does he follow up a whole ton of Ozzy? Well, with Black Sabbath, of course. So, but to be a schmuck, I'm gonna go with Dio Sabbath. All right, I've already covered the Heaven and Hell album. I've covered a lot of Sabbath at this point. But I've covered the Heaven and Hell album already. So I'm going to cover the second Dio Sabbath album now. There is a change also on this album. Well, with the Heaven and Hell album itself, it was three of the original Black Sabbath members. It was Iommi, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, Bill Ward, and then Ronnie Jame Dio came in to replace Ozzy. With Mob Rules, Bill Ward bowed out, and what I've read in the past is Bill Ward bowed out because the band just didn't feel the same without Ozzy anymore. And they got Carmen Appice for this album. I believe I said that right. I hope I said that right. I've always said it wrong over the years, but I believe that's how Dio actually says it on one of the live tracks in here, so I'm hoping I got that right. The drumming on this album is definitely different. You definitely notice a difference right away, but that also depends on certain songs, which I will get into as I go. But let me be very clear: this is a damn good Sabbath album. Okay, so we're gonna start with that, and now let's get into the actual tracks here. Okay. Also, this is the version. This is the digitally remastered version, double disc. And there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of live tracks in here. So when I get to the live track portion, I'm going to kind of blow over a lot of it. Because some of the songs appear a couple times in the live tracks as well. But there's other ones I kind of want to talk about and focus on a bit. So let's go. The album kicks off with Turn Up the Night. Now, this is a great way to start off this album. Turn Up the Night is definitely what I would consider a little bit of a change from standard Sabbath. This one almost feels like it would be more at home even with the Scorpions. And I'm talking of Scorpions a little bit later on, going into the 80s and the 90s. Like, I can picture, like, Zoo era kind of Scorpions even doing this, Turn Up the Night has just got this great kind of almost party-like vibe. And to hear it coming out of Sabbath is interesting, but it works. It's absolutely perfect. It's wonderful, and I highly recommend, if you've never heard the song Turn Up the Night, you gotta check it out. After that, we get into Voodoo. Voodoo is cool. Definitely cool while you're listening to the album. And I can really appreciate Voodoo while I'm listening to the album. I don't know if it's a song, though, that I would say, hey, you gotta check out this song or anything like that. It's definitely, a good album cut. Let's go with that. Sign of the Southern Cross. Alright, so you know the rule. If you're in a heavy metal band, you gotta have at least one song on your album that clocks in at over 7 minutes. And if you're one of the great metal bands, you have to have like one of these songs for sure on every album, okay? Now, you know what types of song I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, when Iron Maiden busts out songs like Dance of Death or Fear of the Dark. Black Sabbath, you have Black Sabbath, you've got War Pigs, you've got, a good pantheon of these great kind of tunes. So when Dio gets into Sabbath, not only do they have to have Heaven and Hell, they've also got to have Sign of the Southern Cross. Do I have anything against the song? No, but the reality is, if I got a choice between Heaven and Hell or Sign of the Southern Cross as the long song they're going to be playing during the set, I'd much rather have Heaven and Hell. I don't mind Sign of the Southern Cross, but much like Voodoo, to me, it's more of like an album cut. It's a good album cut, but it's an album cut. Now, there is this thing, though. When you go from Sign of the Southern Cross into the next track, which is E5150. Oh, you Van Halen fans, right? Oh. Okay. Um, there's this high pitched kind of transition that goes off in there. This note that kind of goes off as this high pitched transition between the two. And when I'm listening to the album in its full entirety, and I'm not the only one that did this. Last night when we were playing Catan, this song came on, and when it happened, Tracy looked up and went, "What the hell is that?" And I said, "No, don't worry about it. It's on the CD player." Blah blah blah. She's like, "Oh, okay." So that's annoying. And E5150, in comparison to, say, tracks like Embryo or Rat Salad or any of the little musical bits over the years, it's okay. It's not meh, but it's okay. Then you get to the title track of this album, and in all honesty, it's by far probably the best track on the album, which is Mob Rules. It has everything you could ask for out of both a Sabbath song, out of a Dio song, out of a metal song, out of everything you could possibly ask for, like a true great metal song. Mob Rules, man. And just that beginning with the come on, whoa, yeah, that galloping rhythm. Oh my God, this song just grabs you and takes you for a ride. I mean, this is, according to the computer, 3 minutes and 14 seconds of pure adrenaline, man. And I mean, it is adrenaline. That you get such a rush when this one comes on. It's just, yes, the Mob Rules. Whew, brilliant. This is one of those blister tracks too. This is one of those ones. My first experience actually with the song Mob Rules is in the Heavy Metal movie. The animated movie, great scene where the mob comes running down over the album, and it's just this great killer song. And I've covered the Heavy Metal soundtrack, so I've already talked about this song, but this is the full digitally remastered version of that song. Oh, wet dream stuff, man! It sounds so good, so good. Oh, digital remasters, love them. Now, there is no way you can follow up Mob Rules and have it sound the same. Or have it any song that's going to follow it up and just do it justice. But next time you get Country Girl, I'll be honest. I honestly completely blank on Country Girl. I do. You got Mob Rules, and then it's kind of like, okay, it's quiet time. Can we go back to Mob Rules? That's followed up by Slipping Away, which is not a bad tune. This is another song where I would liken it more to being kind of like the Scorpions almost. And that is in no way, an insult or anything. It's just, that's how I'd go with it. It's really cool. Just not the Sabbath you would have expected, but a great new direction for Sabbath. It's just like how you got your different eras of Deep Purple with the different sounds, and you got your different eras of Rainbow with the different sounds. This is Black Sabbath, different era with a different sound. Falling Off the Edge of the World is really good. I really do enjoy that one. And then but I don't have much to really kind of add to it. It's a good tune. It's a good album cut. And then you got Over and Over as the last track on this album. So I would recommend, if you've always been curious, if you've always wanted to dip your toes into the Dio era, you don't necessarily got to get the big, expansive double disc version, okay? If you can get just a regular remastered version, single disc, pick it up. Check it out. This is some primo choice metal. Now, I downplay the second half of this album, and I'm going to be honest, it's really everything up to Mob Rules is really where this album really sits. And then the second half of the album, it does kind of, I want to say, taper off a little bit. It's more album cuts, so it's for the fans, you know, the people that are really into it, really listening. Do I put this album in? Yes. Will this album maintain part of a regular rotation and throughout the years? Yeah, absolutely. But my first real complaint on this album is when they put the bonus tracks on, they didn't. It's a 2 disc set with bonus tracks on the second disc, but there's bonus tracks on the first disc as well. And I actually think a lot of the bonus tracks on the first disc actually take away from the replay value of the disc itself in my regular play, because I don't necessarily want to get into all the live tracks. Now, when I mentioned heavy metal earlier, I should mention that the version from heavy metal, which does have a different production, different sound to it, is on here as well. So you can actually listen to both versions and compare them. And doing so, do I notice a difference? Micro difference? Either way, it's like, okay, Mob Rules following up and finishing out the album again. I can live with this. I'm really good with that. Then you get into Die Young. Oh, wait, hold on. Nope, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong album. Apologies. This is one of those problems with that. Okay, so, where are we here? Yeah, you got Die Young. Sorry, I was looking. Okay, so you got Die Young. Die Young is okay. It's... I don't know how to describe Die Young. I personally find it a little boring. It's not a song that I'm interested in hearing. It's when I listen to it on this album, it doesn't do anything for me. It is what it is. It was a live B-side of the Mob Rules. So, whatever. And then after that, you got Mob Rules New Mix 2021. After Die Young, it's nice to have that new mix because it really kicks it back up again. On the flip side, at this point, you've now heard the song Mob Rules 3 times already. After that, you get live at Hammersmith Odeon in December 31st, 1981 through January 2nd, 1982. You got Country Girl, Slipping Away, The Mob Rules, and Voodoo. So you now up to 4 times with The Mob Rules. Country Girl, once again, not a song that, you know, I mean, it's not a bad tune, it's just not a song I'm overly interested in. Slipping Away, which is cool, and Voodoo is cool on the live as well. Then you got live at Portland Memorial Coliseum, April 22nd, 1982. You get Intro, E5150, followed by Neon Nights. Nice to hear Neon Nights, that's really cool. But it doesn't add anything to it. It does help end the album on a note. But like I said, 1 disc and you hear Mob Rules 4 times. Now, I really enjoy Mob Rules, but does that mean I want to hear it 4 times on the same disc? I'm not sure. Maybe a little bit. You get to disc 2. Disc 2 is all live. This was in Portland, 1982, continued. So this is the April 22nd, 1982 show. Now, this fills up a whole disc, so I'm assuming this is the entire show was recorded from beginning to end. Which means you would have had the intro going into the E5150, and then they would have went into Neon Nights to start off the album. This concert. From there, you go into NIB. Alright, now NIB, we're talking some classic Black Sabbath. So you're getting a different vocalist and a different drummer's take on this, and you can right away hear a different vibe in the guitar and the bass. When you listen to the production, one thing I will say is the bass really stands out, is really crisp and clear in the production of this recording. That is really, really nice. The guitar seems to be pulled back a little more into the background, I find, in the mix. And it's not just me listening to what I want to hear. I mean, like, the guitar itself, it's there, but it feels a little more pulled back. And it sounds like they brought in some keyboards for this album as well. But NIB is really cool. Hearing Dio do it, he does it well. And out of a lot of the songs on here, it's one of the ones I do enjoy from the classic line that I think Dio sounds better on. But I would still rather hear Ozzy. Children of the Sea. This was off of the Heaven and Hell album. I don't mind Children of the Sea. Once again, it's a long sign. Heaven and Hell had 2 long songs on, Children of the Sea and Heaven and Hell. Children of the Sea wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything I was overly looking forward to. That's followed up by Voodoo, which is a good follow-up, kind of picks the pace back up again, because Children of the Sea is rather kind of slowish for the most part. From there, we go into Black Sabbath. What are we looking at here for Black Sabbath? 7 minutes, 29 seconds. So it's slightly cut down from the original version, just ever so slightly, I believe. They even make a joke about it on here. I really dig the music when they get into the fast part. I really like the way that you can hear the bass just kind of fucking going to town and Geezer's just in that pocket. I love the drumming on it. I like hearing the guitars going off on it. Dio's voice, I don't think the band jived properly with Dio's voice on this song. I think maybe they should have looked at maybe seeing if they could change the key a little bit or something to make it work a little better with his voice. But there was just something just not right. Then you get into War Pigs. Dio sounds great doing War Pigs. He does a fantastic job of it the whole way around. War Pigs is actually a really cool cover on here. The variations in there. I even like the different drumming style on it. It's really cool. Speaking of drumming style, that goes into the drum solo. The drum solo is alright, I guess. You know, it's not anything I really think about. Which is followed into Iron Man. Dio should not do Iron Man. I just don't like it. The drumming variation on Iron Man is nifty. That was a nice take. I do like the way that was played up. I really, honestly, I do not like Dio's voice singing style for Iron Man. It just doesn't work. That's followed up by Mob Rules. Alright, awesome, great. Then we go into Heaven and Hell. Fantastic, which flows into the guitar solo, which is cool, which goes into the Sign of the Southern Cross, which is awesome, and then goes back into a Heaven and Hell reprise. That's cool to get that whole giant work through. So that's a really awesome kind of concert experience kind of thing. That's fun to listen to. Then you finish off with Paranoid and Children of the Grave. I don't like Dio's voice on Paranoid. And Children of the Grave, I don't mind. But that song's all about the music for me anyways. I have a very big special place. I've talked about it when I actually reviewed it on the Master of Reality album. Children of the Grave is a huge spot for me. So to hear everything so crystal clear on it with the recording and a live recording is wonderful. Dio's voice isn't bad on it at all. Like on all the songs where I say I don't like his voice on it, Dio has an amazing vocalization. The way he emotes in his songs, the way he projects, he gets into character, stuff like that. It is brilliant. And the whole way around, Dio's by far, out of the 2 vocalists, the better vocalist. But there's something to Ozzy's more pulled back style of vocals that fits those songs a little more. Like, I'm going to be completely honest, I really would love to hear Ozzy do a version of Mob Rules. It is the one Dio song that I really think Ozzy could have done. If they had done it, like, you know, live a few years back, stuff like that. It is one of the few songs from the Dio era where Ozzy really could do it and give it some real justice because of the way it's sung, you know. It doesn't have the heavy emote that's got a style that Ozzy can work with. It was a choice tune. There's maybe one or two other ones I think he could work with too. But I there's only like that's the thing is there's only one or two. I would never want to hear Ozzy do Heaven and Hell. I don't want to hear Ozzy ever do Sign of the Southern Cross kind of thing, right? So I'm not interested in any of that at all. But there, like Mob Rules would be great, but that's the thing is Ozzy has a voice that can do that, just like Ozzy's voice on Paranoid does Paranoid really well because of the way he sings, and it's got the same kind of idea. But Dio going into an Ozzy tune doesn't work the same way because there's a different edge to it. And I even would love to have heard Carmen Appice do this album even with Ozzy kind of thing, or do Black Sabbath with Ozzy, because there's a slight difference to it that's really cool. A little more of that metal edge that Ozzy even went into going into the 80s. So if you are a Black Sabbath fan, you want a really good Black Sabbath live experience of the Dio years to hear it, it's great because you get a whole concert out of this between the two. The downside is it takes 2 discs to give you the whole experience. It happens. So it's cool for that way, and I know I didn't spend a ton on this album. I don't remember what I paid for it. I know it was less than $25 Canadian. It was probably $24.99, maybe $25.99. Right? And I still think that's way overshooting for what I actually paid for it. I'm pretty sure I paid like maybe $21-22, and I bought it brand new, and I love it. I think it's great. I will definitely be listening to this album for years to come. And when I go to listen to, I like to do live mixes stuff. There's definitely a couple tracks out of here for sure I'd put in there. And I think I might get around to talking more comparison, do a special episode just about talking more about the comparison between Ozzy and Dio. And I do want to get into some of the other vocalists from the from Black Sabbath as well. Get into some of those albums. But I want to get my hands on some quality digital remasters, which I heard are supposed to be in the works and coming down the pipeline. Because that's where the quality and the sound is, and that's really what I want. Anyways, folks, those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. Let me know what you think. That is what the comment section is for. Hit that like button, subscribe button, the little notification bell thing. And peace, love, take care. Patreon link below as well.